years, Maduro remained untouchable, protected by geography, by alliances, and by the assumption that no American president would ever authorize what happened next. Nicolás Maduro did not inherit a country. He inherited a criminal infrastructure, and he expanded it into something the DEA had never seen before in a sitting government. The Cartel of the Suns was not a cartel in the traditional sense. It was the Venezuelan state itself, operating as a drug trafficking organization from the inside out. Senior military officers, cabinet ministers, and members of the National Assembly were not just corrupt. They were active participants. Venezuela was not simply a narco-state. It was a node in a global network of what U.S. intelligence classified as the malign bloc, a loose but functional alliance between Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, Russia, and Hezbollah. Each actor provided something the others needed. Iran provided financing infrastructure and missile technology. Cuba provided intelligence operatives and internal security architecture. Russia provided air defense systems and diplomatic cover at the United Nations. And Hezbollah used Venezuelan territory to move money, weapons, and personnel across the Atlantic. The FARC connection was equally direct. Colombian guerrillas operated training camps inside Venezuelan territory with the explicit protection of the Venezuelan military. This was not a secret in Bogota or Washington. It was documented, photographed, and presented to the UN Security Council, where Russia vetoed every resolution. By 2024, the U.S. Treasury had sanctioned 150 Venezuelan officials. The State Department had designated Venezuela a state sponsor of terrorism, and the Department of Justice had issued a sealed indictment against Maduro himself, charging him with narco-terrorism, conspiracy to imposition of weapons in furtherance of drug trafficking. The indictment carried a potential sentence of life in prison. But indictments don't capture presidents. Something else does. That's the empire. And it started not with satellites or drones, but with a single person inside Maduro's inner circle. The CIA does not confirm sources. It does not confirm methods. What it does confirm, through the operational record left behind, is that the intelligence penetration of Maduro's inner circle was deep, sustained, and extraordinarily precise. For months before the operation, U.S. intelligence assets had been tracking one specific variable: Maduro's location, not his public schedule, his actual location, where he slept, where he ate, where he held his most sensitive meetings. The compound at Fuerte Tiuna, one of Venezuela's largest military complexes on the outskirts of Caracas, had been identified as his primary residence. Past videos confirmed it, satellite imagery confirmed it, and a source inside his security detail confirmed the specific building. Delta Force did not improvise. Back in the United States, operators built an exact physical replica of Maduro's safe house inside Fuerte Tiuna. They rehearsed the breach until they could execute it blindfolded. Every door, every corridor, every security position. The rehearsal was not a simulation. It was a repetition, conducted hundreds of times until the muscle memory was absolute. The last time the U.S. built this level of pre-operational intelligence for a single target, it was Osama bin Laden. That operation took 10 years. This one took months. Simultaneously, the U.S. Navy was tightening a quarantine around Venezuela's coastline. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group and the USS Baton Amphibious Ready Group were positioned in the Caribbean. The official pretext was counter-narcotics operations. The actual function was forward staging, placing the assets needed for the operation within striking distance before anyone understood what was being planned. The naval presence also served a second purpose. It forced Venezuelan military commanders to divide their attention between the coast and the interior. Every radar system pointed at the Caribbean was a radar system not pointed at Caracas. This is not just about military positioning. This is about the oldest principle in special operations. The enemy cannot defend what they cannot see. Venezuelan intelligence knew the Americans were watching. They did not know the Americans were already inside. The window opened on a Tuesday night. Maduro was stationary. His security rotation was predictable. The weather over Caracas was clear, and the CIA asset inside the compound sent the signal. The operation began at exactly 2 a.m. Venezuelan Standard Time. The operators breached Maduro's building using blowtorches on reinforced doors. Flash grenades disoriented the remaining security detail. The CIA's intelligence on the interior layout was precise enough that the team moved without hesitation. Maduro was found inside. His wife, Cilia Flores, was with him. Neither resisted. According to reports, Maduro was in shock, frozen by the speed and totality of what was happening around him. He was physically secured, flex-cuffed, moved to the extraction point. The second Chinook lifted off approximately 20 seconds after the first. Both were airborne within 2 minutes of initial touchdown. Attack helicopters provided cover fire as they gained altitude. Within minutes, they had cleared Venezuelan airspace and were heading to a secure staging base in the Caribbean. Maduro reportedly shouted that he was the president of Venezuela as he was loaded onto the helicopter. No one answered. He was no longer the president of anything. By 5 a.m. Caracas time, a new story was beginning. The lights were back on in the city, but the man who had controlled those lights for a decade was gone, heading toward a federal detention facility in New York, where he would later be heard shouting in his cell at night that he was still president. It was wrong because it was based on a world that no longer exists. The world that existed before that Tuesday night was one in which a sitting president could run a narco-terrorist state, shelter guerrillas, finance Hezbollah, flood American cities with cocaine, and remain protected by the fiction of sovereignty. That world ended at 2 a.m. in a compound in Caracas, in 2 minutes of extraordinary risk, executed by 20 men who had rehearsed it until it was reflex. There is a particular irony in what followed. The largest oil reserves on the planet, reserves that Chavismo had used for 25 years as a weapon against the United States, may now become the economic foundation of a Venezuela that is, for the first time in a generation, aligned with the West. The bombs were real. The operation was real. But the most consequential weapon deployed that night was not a microwave device or an F-35. It was the message, no one is untouchable. If this analysis gave you a new perspective on what actually happened in Venezuela and why it matters, subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss the next video.